Good day, my name is Christel from Frans de Klerk, Independent Technical Analyst. The first one on our list is the Rand against the British Pound. Now, we've previously spoken about this weekly graph and we have warned about a possible double top formation. And some might even call it a triple top because I also have a touching point on the same neckline. So we can have this one loop, second loop, and a third loop. And so double top, triple top formation, depending on how many touching points you want to count. That neckline is waiting at 22 Rand 61. As soon as the Rand starts to consolidate below 22 Rand 61, the double top, triple top formation will be in play. And that is, I am expecting a stronger Rand. We are already consolidating below the red line, which represents the 40-week moving average. And that tells me the long-term sentiment towards the Rand is a stronger Rand against the British Pound. Now, the stochastic, both lines within my stochastic are still pointing downwards, implying that the momentum to the bottom is still in place. However, we can see there's a little bit of support at the moment. Now, if I change this back to a candle graph, we can see a Harami candle is in the making. So keep in mind, these are weekly graphs, so that candle will only be finished by Friday's close. So at the moment, Harami means uncertainty. So they're not sure whether they want to really take, the Rand weaker, or do they want to continue to sell the pair for a stronger Rand. So at the moment, the question is going to be, how high will the Rand bounce? Will it go back to the 40-week moving average, and that is waiting at 23 Rand 52, or even that high in the week of the 3rd of June, and that is waiting at 24 Rand 31. So how high will it bounce? And should it bounce a little bit and continue to retrace again, we will talk about lower highs. Why? Because every bounce will then become a little bit lower and a little bit lower, which implies loss of momentum and which supports the narrative of a stronger Rand going forward. 2261 is that line in the sand. And as long as we trade above it, we can maybe expect a little bit of a bounce. But as long as we trade below the 40-week moving average, a stronger Rand. And especially below that neckline, as I said, that double top or triple formation can take it a lot lower. What is the target of a double top or triple top? You can either take any of the legs, any lengths of the legs, and you project it downwards from the neckline where that formation was confirmed or will be confirmed. And that means we can see the Rand as strong as 20 Rand 72 against the pound should the full formation play out. Only when the Rand starts to consolidate above 24.47, which is the right part of that double top, triple top. Only above that will the warning formation become obsolete and off the table, and I can say, listen, I expect a much weaker Rand going forward. All right, Nampak. There was some real action there. I mean, last week the share was up about, what was it, 29%, I think. Let's just have a look. Candle graph. Yeah, 29%. But look at that stochastic. Ladies and gentlemen, both lines are still pointing upwards, implying that the momentum to the top is clearly in place. Yes, I am in overbought territory, but that doesn't mean, one, I don't have a negative divergence yet. My blue line has not broken downwards through my orange line yet. And the candles are telling me that the buyers are keen to support the share price for higher levels. Very important, we are above the 40-week moving average. And if the Nampak can remain above it, and that will be a very strong bullish signal. Why? Because it tried to do that in the week of, from the 14th of August 2023 to the 4th of September 23, those 2-3 weeks, it tried to do that. In 4 weeks, it tried to do that. It could not keep it above the 40-week moving average, and ever since then have traded below it. And before that, the last time Nampak was above the 40-week moving average was in March 2022. So the fact that there is enough buying power to get the share price above the 40-week moving average and keep it there will be a very bullish signal. Very strong belt hold line, positive belt hold line candle even this week in the making. Again, these are weekly graphs, so that candle will only be finished by Friday and might look a lot different. Maybe the sellers will take some profit or the buying power will continue. Very, very important. I want to change this to a line graph and highlight that there was a double bottom, very long double bottom in the making, right? So again, when that strong resistance starts to change into a support and there is a strong buying power that can lift that share price through that roof, through that resistance, it is very positive and very important. Look how close that neckline was to the 40-week moving average. It's almost a double confirmation with two tick boxes that were ticked to say, listen, the buying power was so strong. We could get through that 40-week and we could get through the neckline, which is seen as very, very positive. Now, obviously, the next strong resistance, what is waiting there on a line graph in the week of the 28th of August at 287 Rand and 1 cent. So we're fast approaching that, and it will be interesting to see whether the buying power is strong enough to get it through that resistance level. So if you are at CFD, that might be a level of resistance that you can consider to taking profit. But at the moment, the momentum to the top and the candles imply that the momentum to the top is in place. My first sign of warning will be again below the 40-week. 181 Rand 60. Below that level, the tears will flow again, and that can be your line in the sand. Stop loss level, capital protection level, to say, listen, below that, I might become, the sentiment will draw a negative again. I want to have a look here. There was a little bit of volume there, but not enough to get too excited about it. Should they have it? I mean, if there was volume, along with that long consolidation base, it would have been a beautiful Darvas model, but at the moment it's not. So let's just stick to a double bottom. I mean, there's a small double bottom, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to draw that for you. If that resistance starts to change into a support there at 287.01, that there's even a bigger double bottom. Double bottom, triple bottoms, inverse head and shoulder formations, those are all turnaround patterns that tells us, listen, the night is behind us, the darkness is going to fade, and this might be a new dawn for the share price. And this might be the case for Nampak if the buying power is strong enough to get through 287 Rand and 1 cent. All right. KAL Group, the old Kaap Agri. Ticker on our exchange, KAL. Very overbought at the moment, right? Negative divergence. Look at that. That blue line has already broken downwards through the orange line. That implies the probability for profit taking has increased. And I combine that with my candles. Yes, there were 2 weeks of strong buying power. We can see that in the lowest shadows in the week of the 3rd of June as well as the 10th of June. But in that week of the 18th of June, a rather ugly gravestone doji has emerged. Now the long tail at the top, the long upper shadow, tells me that the selling pressure was there. It tells me that, listen, they were keen to take some profit, and very important as well, that high was 48 Rand 50, was a little bit lower than the high of the week of the 27th of May, and that was waiting at 48.49. And even that was a little bit lower than the high of the 20th of May, which sat at 49.49. Implies loss of momentum, right? Lower highs are visible. So if you are at the moment in the KAL Group, maybe consider taking some profit. And for me, confirmation of weakness will be below this strong support of 45 Rand. Below 45 Rand, confirmation of weakness will be technically on the graph. But as long as the share, maybe buying power will increase above that high of last week, 48 Rand 50, we can assume again that the momentum to the top will continue. But for now, in limbo, negative candle gravestone doji from last week, negative divergence, which increases the probability for downside. So let's have a look. But overbought at the moment, so rather profit taking at this stage on a weekly graph than accumulation opportunities. Toyota, listed in the US on the New York Stock Exchange, ticker TM. And I want to go back to let's just start here. First, very oversold. Now, I mean, we know the US market has ran very overbought, very toppish, but this is a share that's actually oversold. And this is the ideal place where we want to buy a share. Why? Because that elastic band has got a lot of space. It's loose. It's not stretched to a side. Very important. Blue line has broken upwards through the orange line. That shorter moving average within my stochastic has confirmed a positive divergence. That tells me the probability for upside is there. And if I combine that with a candle, I can say this is the perfect setup for a buy opportunity. Now, last week's candle is such a small doji. Let me zoom that out for you. Oh, that kind, even some might even call it a gravestone doji candle, because there's a little bit of a higher, longer upper shadow. But I would call it a doji. It's so small, and that tells me indecision, right? It tells me that the buyers and sellers were not sure what to do. They were actually, the open, the close, the high and the low were so close to one another. They were actually very unsure what to do about Toyota. Now, look at that. There's a couple of things here. One, this is a doji, but I've got a breakaway gap on the left-hand side, as well as a massive breakaway gap on the right-hand side. So this was very negative, right? The negative breakaway gap, or a window on the left-hand side, because why? The selling pressure actually was a lot more than the low of the previous trading session. But on the following week, I had a massive positive candle here, gap here, which tells me that the buying power was again so fierce that it was a lot higher than the high of the previous trading session. So windows always gets closed, right, over time. No matter how long it takes, it gets closed. But it also acts as strong support and resistance levels. So we can assume that as long as this gap on the right-hand side remains open, and what I mean by that is it doesn't go back and trade within that range, it is seen as very bullish. And that the window starts at the high of last week, which is $194.20. And it closes at the low of this week, which is $197.27. So as long as that gap remains open, I assume that the momentum to the top is in place, one. And two, that acts as a strong support. So what can happen if the sellers are strong enough? They might come back, close that window, and then the buyers can lift it higher. But at the moment, it acts as a strong support. All right, very important. This can also be seen as a morning star formation, a 3-candle pattern formation where I have a negative bearish type of candle followed by a doji in the middle and a positive type of candle. Now again, that candle is not finished yet. These are weekly graphs, and the candle on the right will only be finished by Friday's close. But assuming that is a positive type of candle, right? A bullish engulfing candle, maybe even a bullish engulfing candle will actually be ideal at this stage. That will tell me that, listen, the night is behind me, the morning star, is going to rise, and it's a new day for Toyota. Very important. Take note of that opening price. That's very close to that 40-week moving average at $207.49. That will be the first confirmation of strength on Toyota. The share has really, we saw some nice profit taking, but keep in mind that this might be a turnaround for Toyota. You can either use the opening of the window as a stop loss, which weighs at 194.20, or the low of that candle, and they're so close to one another because of that small doji, $193.38. As a line in the sand, you can use your average true range if you want to just double check that the depth or the thinness of the stop loss is not too small. In other words, to give your stop loss a little bit of breathing space and make sure it's not too close to the recent trading price. All right. Above the 40-week, obviously long-term sentiment changes to positive, $207.49. Below that low, we can assume that the momentum to the top will continue again. Very important, I also have a gap here at the top, right? And that is between $248.47 and $250.33. Now that gap is also still open, so that can act as a nice target should the momentum to the top continue and the buying power increases again. If I go back, yes, the share has had a massive rally. And for those of you who are interested, maybe can make use of this oversold opportunity, possible morning star formation, to accumulate a Toyota again, and we are above or we're very close to see whether the buying power is strong enough to keep us above that 40-week moving average, which is represented by the red line. Don't forget to send through your requests for next week's show via Twitter or email. Have a fantastic week. Take care.